Hi, Blue Teamers. I hope all of you are doing well. And I am here to make my first live science video. Well, it actually won't be live when you see it, but this is something new for me. So let's see how this goes. So here I am in a rocking chair, wearing a shirt that says Gettysburg Rocks, and listening to some rock and roll music, specifically the Rolling Stones. So I imagine you can figure out what today's lesson is going to be about, especially being the highly intellectual individuals you are, and that is obviously rocks. Now, rocks are defined as, and it's not complicated, a hard substance made up of one or more minerals most of the time. So technically a mineral is a rock. Today we are going to talk about one of the three rock types, and this will be igneous rocks. As we go through the different rock types, you will see rocks are in one of these three groups or types based upon how they formed. So enough of me. Let's move on, and I'm going to show you some igneous rocks. All right, Blue Teamers, here we go. Now, instead of me being the one to teach you about igneous rocks, my dog Rosie, whose real name is Rosalita, named after one of my favorite rock songs, is going to guide you through our little lesson on igneous rocks. Right, Rosie? Yeah. So, here are some examples of igneous rocks. All igneous rocks form from molten rock. Now, molten rock comes in two types. There is magma, which is molten rock from below the surface of the earth, and lava, molten rock that has reached the surface of the earth. So, when we look at these igneous rocks, we're going to see that they are further classified according to the minerals they're made of, and more importantly, their texture, which is based on the size of the mineral crystals, if they exist at all, which pretty much is based on how fast they cool. Now, we're going to do this a little Dora style as well, in that if you remember watching Dora, she would always ask questions, pause, give you an opportunity to answer, and then tell you how great you did, which I expect you will do. So, which do you think would cool faster? Magma or lava? It's Dora time. What do you think, Rosie? Is it magma or lava? If you said lava cools faster, you are correct. Yeah. Now, so, one texture of igneous rocks, and you could fill this in on your paper. So you should have put magma and lava in already. And now we're going to look at ones that cooled very, very quickly as lava. And these are called glassy. So what you see here is obsidian. Obsidian is sometimes called volcanic glass because it kind of has that appearance a little bit. And actually, if you saw a very thin piece, it's actually clear sometimes because it's mainly made of quartz. So this was lava at one point that cooled very, very fast and has that glassy texture where there really aren't any mineral crystals at all. Now, what I don't want you to think is that all of these glassy textured rocks are like obsidian, because this is pumice. And pumice is glassy textured as well. It formed from lava, but it doesn't really have that glassy appearance. And pumice actually is kind of unique because, and get my beaker of water here. Pumice floats in water. And now it's Dora time again. What does that mean? Its density must be less than or equal to what number? If you said 1 gram per cubic centimeter or milliliter, You are correct. So pumice is kind of unique. If you ever get hit with a rock, which I hope you never do, let's hope it's pumice because, Rosie, see, it didn't even hurt her. Okay? Yeah. Good job. So pumice is really, really light in density. Boop, there it goes. So those are glassy textured igneous rocks. Now, there are other igneous rocks classified by their texture to cool quickly as well. And these are called fine-grained. This is basalt. Basalt is one of the most common rocks in the earth. And contrary to what you may have thought as a child, the moon is mainly basalt, not cheese. Now, the reason I'm showing you two different colors of basalt as well is that I don't want you to think that color is a really good property for identifying rocks, because basalt, as you can see, can come in more than one color. So don't think that all rocks that are, for example, basalt or any other rock type are all the same color, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So these basalt rocks you see form from lava as well, but it cooled a little slower, so it did form crystals, but you're not going to see those with your eyes. You would have to have some type of magnification to really see the mineral crystals. But with glassy, you're not going to see any mineral crystals like the obsidian or the pumice. When you have decorative lava rocks people put in their gardens and so on, it's probably basalt. Now, obsidian was used by people to make arrowheads and so on. It's still used for cutting tools and so on, or even some jewelry. And the pumice actually is ground up for cement, and they use it to, as pumice stones, people use it to remove dead skin from their feet. A little disturbing, but that's what it's used for. So those are two textures, and you should have filled in glassy. And secondly, for letter B, it was fine-grained, F-I-N-E-G-R-A-I-N-E-D. Now, let's go back to molten rock that never reached the surface but cooled and hardened, and that gives us something like this. This is granite. Never take it for granite. Granite's a pretty good looking rock actually, which is why it's used in countertops, sometimes in buildings and so on. It can also be white, gray, have black and other colors in it. And when you polish it, the quartz comes out and it has a really nice appearance. And it's a very hard rock. If we put that in water, it's going to sink. So the granite that Rosie is holding for us there, as we said, comes from magma. It cools a lot more slowly than either the fine-grained or the glassy, since it came from magma. And its texture is coarse-grained. So you need to fill that in for letter C, coarse-grained, C-O-A-R-S-E hyphen grained, G-R-A-I-N-E-D. So as you can see the separate mineral crystals with your eyes, or it's not difficult to see them. Nice job, Rosie. You did a good job showing those. Now, so we have 3 of the 4 textures complete. And now we're moving on to the final one. And that is called porphyritic. And Rosie's going to show you porphyritic. And you can see it as a fine-grained background. And you see some larger crystals embedded in there as well, huh, Rosie? Yeah. So it probably cooled at 2 different times. We're a little bit below the surface, sometime at the surface, as that fine-grained background, and then those larger crystals embedded in it as well. And that's a type of rhyolite that we see there. So it's probably the least common of the igneous rock textures, but I wanted to point that one out to you as well. So to go back over those 4 textures, we had the glassy, we had the fine-grained, the coarse-grained, and the porphyritic. All right. Now, in conclusion, and this is the last part you'll see, numbers 2 and 3 on the Google slideshow you should be typing into. If a rock formed from lava, which means it made it to the surface, we're going to call it extrusive. Extrusive. Okay? If it formed from magma, it will be called intrusive, like in the earth. Intrusive. So ones for number 2, ones that form from magma are intrusive, in the earth, and ones that form from lava are extrusive. Think of the exterior of the earth. So here's my last Dora question for you. Of the textures we just talked about, which 2 would be extrusive, forming from lava? And here's your time to think. What do you think, Rosie? Rosie? Yeah, what do you think? All right, if you said glassy and fine grain, a job well done. That's a great answer, yes. And obviously then the coarse grain would be intrusive, igneous rocks. So, you just are witnessed Mr. Sheets' first homemade video to present to his class. I hope you got everything filled in. Let me know if not, and I'll be glad to help you out. And you guys, from the assignment I put out there, assignment number 3, from what I've looked at already, you guys have done a really great job with those. Really like what I'm seeing. I'm going to be owing some animal crackers when we get back to school. So I hope everybody's doing well, and I might try to do this again. We'll see what the future brings. So, hey, great job, Blue Team. Hope everybody's doing well, and we'll see you down the road. You rock.